members here in the audience as well. But excited to present to you today just sort of an update of what we've been up to since last time we presented to you. Yeah, so we can go to the next slide. So this is our current, not everyone in the photo, but the list of our current sort of roster of members. You can see there myself, Austin Rico, who's our new vice chair, is here in the audience, as well as Christy and Riley are here with us. But the rest of our members are on there. We just got a couple more people put on the committee, so we're excited about that. And some of our liaisons as well in community. So Christy Bayer at NCSD and Ryan Smith in the police department. And this photo is from the barbecue this summer during Pride, where we hosted a barbecue for community on Sunday where they do the march. And we had some great turnout and great partnerships with that. And so just wanted to show a little bit of what we've been up to. Next slide, please. This is a QR code folks can scan. This is, you can get directly to the city website that shows what the city advisory is, what we've done. It shows where our sort of reports are, or Casper Cares, which we'll talk about in a minute. Also, if there are folks listening who want to apply to be a part of the committee, that is a great place to go to get the application and submit it. Next slide, please. Look at it when they think about where they're moving or living. So just keeping that in mind. We can go back, sorry. The anti-bullying policy, this is something that our committee brought to you all last year, asking if we could get something in place for city services, particularly like the rec center. And you all did that, and you actually ran further with it and improved it. And so just a lot of gratitude for taking that recommendation and making it happen, as well as the city staff who helped develop that policy. We have new members, of course, as I just mentioned. Something that came up in the past few months is that obviously this committee serves as an advisory to you all in the work that you're doing, but also as a liaison for the broader community. And so sort of a question or a ponder that we have for you all that doesn't have to get answered today, but we have had to talk about as a body, is how do we serve as a liaison to the community when there's concerns, when there's issues, if someone feels something isn't happening or their concerns aren't being addressed and they come to the committee, how do we best respond to that as a liaison, which we don't really have powers as our body other than to tell you what's going on. But I think it's something worth just bringing up because I think folks are going to find our committee and seek support. And so we just want to be thoughtful about what our role is there. And then the Pride barbecue I just told you about. We can go to the next slide. So Austin here has the NDO Casper Cares. So this is our ongoing information campaign that we featured in the Casper Pride newsletter to get it out, but you can find it on the city website. What this is an opportunity for us to try to get community a little bit more information and just make it more accessible. So this is the example of the non-discrimination ordinance that we wanted to initially just make sure people knew about and what it means. I think over time, it's also just helpful for folks to know that the NDO is not LGBTQ specific. It is a non-discrimination ordinance, so it helps everyone in Casper. And so this also just being a way where folks could learn a little bit more about it quickly, and of course, dive in deeper if they had more questions. We've also done one that covered a little bit about like who is city council and who are your council members, so folks were able to get that. And we'll do other ones in the future as well. But this sort of did you know format seems to be helpful and just making that connection for folks about what's happening in our city. So that is that. Thank you. Next, so as I was mentioning about the MEI index, we've continued to grow that score each year. So we started at 3 in 2015, which is real low, but we have made it to 92, which is great. And there's still some points that can be earned out there, but just really, I think, something for us to be proud of and to keep up that score because it is a really promising thing for folks who might move here and who live here. You can see the comparison to other Wyoming cities and the scores. So like I mentioned, Laramie is at 94. We're at 92, and then the rest are still really working to get up there, but they're pretty low. And so I think that's certainly a point of pride for us that we've gotten there, and hopefully folks can look to us as to how did we do that, especially in our state. Next slide. This is just a reminder that there's more points that we can earn to increase that MEI score. We're sort of getting close to tapping the ones that are, in a sense, the easiest ones to get, because some of the other ones we run into are things like around, I want to say it was something around health insurance, but that's a state plan, so that's not an easy change. So some of those things, but this is just a list of other places we could get what they call flex points. So they don't necessarily take away, but they could add to. And so we have, of course, tackled the youth bullying prevention policy for city services, so we got points for that. But this is just a list to keep in mind of some other things that would be worth considering or working towards if we're able to. Next slide, please. So I think that is pretty much everything we have for you today. Is just a quick update, but of course we'll welcome questions, and if you want to reach us, LGBTQ committee at casper.gov. So, Jenna.
Hi, I have a question for you. Do you know specifically what caused that big jump between the points that you had 74 and 92? Was that your flex points mainly?
Some of it's the flex points. I think it was for the bullying policy. Amber, you want to add?
Yeah. If you want to take it back to that slide, that would be super handy. A couple things happened right around that time. So I think the first jump was really establishing this advisory committee that got us some additional points, and then the big jump was the non-discrimination that were sort of built around the non-discrimination ordinance. The next big jump that you can see, 24 to 25, was, I think there was some from the anti-bullying policy, and then also quite a chunk from reporting hate crime statistics to the FBI from the police department. So those were kind of the big buckets of things that happened to get to that score. There were some smaller elements here or there, but those were the major things. So forming the committee, passing non-discrimination ordinance, anti-bullying in city facilities, and then the police department hate crime statistics, which they couldn't report on because we didn't have the NDO in the first place. So that was sort of an add-on impact to passing that non-discrimination ordinance as well.
Yeah, in the same way that we didn't have a hate crime to report, so we didn't get points, but all of that to say it was a good problem in a sense.
To fruition.
Yeah. But a lot of the jump I think has come from just that meticulous overtime work of adding this all in, and thus why it's important that we keep doing all the stuff we've been doing, because of course each year the points could also go away if they're well, this hasn't happened or this occurred or whatever.
You have to build on them. I get that part of it. But so I'm curious, what is your next strategic move to beat Laramie?
It's a great question. I think the committee really dig in to figure out, even with Pat and Amber, when we have our meetings, to figure out what is most possible. I've appreciated that the city office has come to meet with us to talk through both updates on what they've worked on and what we might be able to do. We're just sort of hitting some of the parts that are less out of our control because they're state impacted or state laws or whatever. So my hope is that we keep working on it though, because the list of the flex points items are still important. I just know
back to that one.
Yeah,
While you're
go
talking
forward. One or two? I think two. Yeah, so all gender single occupancy facilities. I would love that, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Protecting youth.
We got partial credit there.
Say that again?
We got partial credit there, some flex points because of remodels that have happened. Like here, for instance, we have a family restroom now that we didn't have before. So some as facilities are remodeled. Generally, modern design standards would include some sort of family restroom of some variety. So that ticks that box. But obviously, we have a lot of facilities that are also not updated. So
one thing we don't have is a Human Rights Commission. So an enforcement mechanism in the Human Rights Commission, as in we don't have a group in Casper that exists in that function or has the power to do that. It would be a great body to have where people could bring their concerns and get them addressed in a targeted, known place. Because we don't have that, then we don't have the enforcement mechanism aspect as well. City employee domestic partner benefits and the city contractor non-discrimination ordinance policy and language. I feel like there was a barrier there with those. And then the city services to different populations just comes down to figuring out those services aren't really directly offered by the city anyways. They're offered through community org. So part of it's just even the way that the MEI is structured makes it a little difficult to get those points, or deciding if you want to sort of argue with them and make the point or make the case about it. So And restrictive state law, I think we just haven't had a law to test the limits yet. But it's not necessarily possible that won't happen. So, but the city would have to decide we're going to take this thing on. So, yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, Michael.
No, I'm done.
Hi, Elliot. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Great news about the MEI. But I did have one question about the Casper Cares initiatives.
Yeah.
How is that, like the information that was on the placard there?
Yeah.
How is that being disseminated? Is that?
So 2 places, the city website, of course,
Yeah.
and then Casper Pride, because Casper Pride
Sure.
sends out their regular newsletter. So it's become a really easy way to reach the targeted community, but also through social media and all of that. So I usually work with Mallory on getting it uploaded and in the newsletter. That's the main place it's going out. And then during Pride events, like in June, we'll have either a table or a sign, or we'll put like the NDO board up and all of that, just trying to make sure people know about it. But welcome if there's other places we can put it.
Thank you.
Pat, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. So Elliot, I didn't know if the MEI scorecard that's in the packet was part of your slide deck.
It is not in my slide deck. I know I just saw someone pull it up, but in the packet is the full readout of the MEI. So it shows you the possible scores, what we actually got. And I think it even sometimes has a breakdown of like municipal versus state. But that's a good one to dig into as well, to sort of see what did we get, what are the gaps. And even if you look at it year over year, you can sort of see obviously where it changed. Score. Thanks for bringing that up, Pat.
Other questions, comments? Yeah. Kyle.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the information presentation, Elliot, and I appreciate the work of the group and all of these things stemming from the group. Interesting observation, though. Amber mentioned all these big leaps to improve our score: non-discrimination ordinance, hate crime reporting to the FBI, bullying policy. Again, appreciate the efforts of this all stemming from the LGBT Advisory Council, but none of those efforts are specific or exclusive to people identifying as LGBT. So just interesting observation for the folks that are going to read the headline tonight and not anything further.
Yeah.
Just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, the group is called the LGBTQ Advisory, but I think most of what we touch impacts other people, particularly of marginalized identities also, but really anyone in Casper. And so I think that's a conversation we're also keeping in mind, that the work we do might have LGBTQ or rainbow on it. But if you look closer, everybody benefits from all of these improvements. It should benefit from them. So yeah. Yeah, Amber.
On the MEI scorecard, one thing to kind of touching on Jenna's point, you can see under number 5, leadership on LGBTQ plus equality, public position on equality. That one actually is in flux every year. Some of these other things are in policy, and that's great, but really what we have to provide there is statements that anybody on council or other leadership has made publicly, dealing with specific community issues that may have arisen. And so this year in particular, it was Mayor Pacheco's statements around the comment section of opening the applications for this committee, actually, that was able to secure those points. So I think, that's something that we can all always be sort of on the lookout for, not to secure the points, but to make sure that we are reiterating our position and reaffirming our position when circumstances dictate that we need to remind where we have come down as a body on this particular issue. So that's one that, it's 5 points, it can flux and it's been different things every year, but that's something that, as issues arise, I think that this particular body and, the community at large for what is our position and what do we have to say about those things. And so just a reminder to all of us.
Yeah, I think if, somebody who
Probably, yeah.
who grew up here, I don't think I expected to see supportive statements. So much appreciation to you for seeing that. I think we certainly see all the comments about our community. It's really always the pushback or the sort of like stop bullying in general. So thank you for that. And it does mean a lot to our community to see those elements of support for us, because ideally it does also mean it's for everybody. So yeah. Any other questions?
I'll just make a comment. Thank you for all your guys' hard work and the efforts. And I think what's important to, this is my comment, I think it's what's critical is our understanding of dignity of the human person. And that's something that has been super important to me, not only as a social worker, but just as a leader in the community.
Yeah.
And so I'm continuing to fight that, making sure that we speak out against hate. Discrimination is going to be an important aspect from the city standpoint. So we appreciate you guys very, very much.
Right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
All right, let's go on to liquor license reports. Do you have a setup for anything?
No, I will just introduce our chief.
Hi, Chief.
How you doing tonight, sir?
Good.
Mayor, council, thank you for the opportunity to present this annual liquor license report. We're going to go through the 2024, 2025 data, how we interpret it,
We did try to make.
and hope you guys find this review informational and that it supports council's goals of maintaining a safe and healthy community. So at the outset, what I want to clarify is this report should not be a list, or should be viewed as not a list of problem businesses and not a direct measure of alcohol-related wrongdoing at each location. So during the calendar year of 2025, the Casper Police Department continued our compliance operations supported by through the state of Wyoming through grant funding. And with that funding, we conducted 196 liquor license compliance checks. Some were closed seasonally, permanently at the time of inspection, but the majority were active establishments and found to be in compliance. 12 establishments, however, were identified as being out of compliance, resulting in 11 citations and 1 warning involving alcohol offered to a minor in an open container. So we decided that one should be a warning because the container had not been opened. Still, alcohol was served. These outcomes have been consistent with prior years and do not indicate a systemic non-compliance. Of those 12 establishments found to be out of compliance, 3 demonstrated repeat compliance issues over the past several years. 1 failed checks in each of the last 3 consecutive years, which was C85 Gallus Liquor Mart. A second failed 4 times across 2023, 2024, and 2025, which was Boston's. And a third failed in 2024 and again in 2025, which was the Range. Questions so far?
Any questions related to that?
All right. Turning to the calls for service, if you remember in 2024, we responded to 2,148 calls for service associated with liquor license establishments. In 2025, that number declined to approximately 1,971 calls for service, which is a reduction of 177 calls, or about 8%. It's significant because our enforcement did not necessarily decrease. While we saw fewer calls for service while maintaining consistent oversight, several of those high call volume places actually saw a reduction in calls for service. You'll remember looking at last year, Walmart was pretty high, and this year they've dropped significantly, and some of those gaming parlors actually dropped quite a bit as well. And we can attribute that to probably some of the adjustments they made internally to address some of those issues that they were having. Most of these calls, if you look at the report, involve traffic accidents, welfare checks, disturbances, alarms, and they're often driven by location and public activity rather than misconduct by this establishment itself. In that context, it's important when you're interpreting the call volume. And so with that in mind, what we did is we expanded that to the city, and you'll see on that other page there. So we wanted to figure out what's going on or try to digest some of that data. So when you look at the data from 2024 to 2025, we saw a decrease in our DUI arrests by 23%. Our minor in possession offenses dropped by 30%, and our ready recalls dropped by, those are report every drunk driver immediately, they dropped by 16%. We also observed reductions in alcohol-related safety risks, such as DUI accidents. They declined by 28%. Alcohol-related accidents fell 12%, and alcohol-related means that there may be some alcohol related in that accident, but it doesn't rise to the level of probable cause for a criminal complaint. So there may be something else like a prescription drug on board or something like that. Average blood alcohol concentrations also declined slightly, though they still remain above the legal limits. And I want to touch briefly on how we got to this data, if that's okay with you all.
Absolutely.
All right. Over the past several years, the department has continued refining how data is captured. You remember we transitioned to NIVERS, and so that's kind of incident based. So you're going to see You may see an influx over the coming years. You may see a decrease in the coming years as we continue to refine what that data looks like and how we characterize that data. We want to make sure we don't have any duplication or misclassification. We want to make sure that year to year we're strengthening the reliability of our data as we put this stuff out. So as a result, some variation in reported figures reflect improved data quality and methodology rather than changes in enforcement intensity or underlying bad behavior. So in summary, in 2025, our liquor license review does not identify widespread systemic concerns associated with the liquor license establishments in Casper. Enforcement remains stable, compliance levels remain high, and calls for service are declining. And several key alcohol-related safety indicators are moving in the positive direction. And one thing I want to point out too, if I could, before I answer any questions, if you have any, is if you remember last year, our traffic stops to show that we've increased our self-initiated activity. That's because we had some internal questions of why are these dropping if these are along with everything else. So last year we accounted for 11,179 traffic stops, which is officer initiated. This year we increased that by 2,219 to a total of 13,398 traffic stops. So enforcement's still out there. Our calls for service overall declined from 47,000 down to around 43,000. So we still have proactive enforcement, which is up over a little bit over 10%, closer to 15%. But our total crashes declined, property damage collisions decreased, DUIs dropped. So you've seen a lot of things trending in the good direction. With that, I'll try to answer any questions if you have.
Anybody have any questions for the chief? Yeah, Kyle.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I got two for you. Not that I'm complaining, but I was really surprised with the decrease, pretty significant decreases in some of those categories. Can you attribute that to, I know just alcohol consumption in general is going down, so my guess is that's probably a part of it. It sounds like we're kind of changing our reporting, so maybe that's got a little bit of an effect. Are you able to attribute that to anything particular? Or?
No, not really, sir. Thank you for the question. We went back and asked ourselves our own questions. What's going different? So some of that was we checked our ride share to see if that's increased. That's been stable. That hasn't. We haven't seen an increase in use of that. Some of our younger officers and some of our younger staff contributed to maybe the TikTok videos going around and some of those mixology videos going around, like I'll stay at home instead of going out. Oh, yeah. I thought they would have been higher simply because we had 2,000 more traffic stops.
Sure. Second question, if you don't mind. So those couple folks of the 196 compliance checks, those couple folks, like to me, it seems pretty egregious to fail one or more a year for several years in a row. And so I don't know if maybe the city attorney or someone can remind me, under within what parameters is somebody using liquor license? Like I know there's some sort of consequence schedule or something. So is this not rising to that level? Do we have?
I believe that's Mayor Council. I believe that's part of the administrative review. But I don't want to speak to that. That's right. Is that accurate?
Come on up, Carla.
Sorry, Carla.
That's all right.
Might as well use you while you're there.
Mayor, Council, it is part of the administrative review, and we are looking at it to see what fines would be appropriate and some of the policies that might not be accurate. So we are going to get a meeting together and discuss that.
Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the precise information there. I did have a question about the, so on those establishments where there was like the larger ones, like I can think of the grocery stores and so forth
Yes, sir.
that have liquor besides groceries. Are those calls like originating from necessarily from their liquor store or not necessarily? They're just all calls. They're just all calls for that location.
Mayor, Council, yes. So, for example, if you do a traffic stop, CY Avenue and you're by the Backdoor Lounge, you may not have a numerical address, so you're going to say it's either by CY, Robinson's on CY, or the Backdoor Lounge, whatever. And so we try to ferret that out in the data. And so some of we're trying to clean that up a little bit as we provide you that data so it's more accurate. It's not necessarily generated because of that. It's just a location proximity.
I see.
Based on how that's called out and how it's labeled in the call.
Okay. Thank you. I also had a question about, the ready, are those calls where somebody's calling in, like a citizen is reporting a suspected driver, is that correct?
Mayor, council, yes, sir. It's report every drunk driver immediately, and
Yeah.
they will call in an impaired driver or what they believe is an impaired driver.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not impaired, but maybe they're
Right.
driving aggressive, but that's what those are.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I mean, those numbers, they're down, but I'm just glad to see folks are taking that care to actually make that reporting, so. Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief?
Mayor,
You bet, Pat.
Mayor, if I could. So I can't find it, but the vintage on Poplar, I got a call from them and I didn't know if it was under, there it is. So his question, and it's been a long-term question for some of the liquor dealers, why, like, as an example, it's under 1016 Poplar Incorporated. So traffic stops. So those are registered, as calls, wanted person. And he kind of understood that because if there's somebody in the place and police are coming in to try to arrest, but like traffic stops, some of that, he was kind of wondering why those should count.
Mayor, council, again, I don't, starting out, I don't think that these should necessarily be attributed to the business or to that establishment. But it's a proximity when an officer does a traffic stop on Poplar Street. They're in the area. That is a place that they're familiar with. And so it's labeled in there and that's how we're just pulling the data. But again, as we go through this and we get better at paring that out, you're going to see those numbers fluctuate throughout the years as we figure out a better way to kind of tag those, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Thanks for the question, sir.
Others? Awesome. Thanks, chief. Appreciate the update.
If I, one other question, so, geez, I don't even know what it's called anymore, but it started out as Tipsy Taxi and all of that. Is that still going on, or with the advent of Uber and rideshare and Lyft, is that the direction that's all taken?
Mayor, council, yes, we still have it's called Safe Ride. That's managed by Master Officer Alyssa Badke at the police department. So she still manages that program. And so when we were looking at some of this data we went back and asked her, what is she seeing as far as the usage on that? Is it increasing, decreasing, or staying the same? And it's really kind of staying the same. So that is that's still a functioning tool that folks can use.
So are the liquor dealers still involved? Do they still try to raise funds for that? We used to have some fundraisers out at the Beacon and other stuff, but.
Mayor, councilor, I don't know that that's an up and running or a committee still at this point.
Okay. Do they derive funds basically from fines through the city court?
Mayor, councilor, I have to get back to you on that one. I'm not sure how they're getting all their funds. I know some of them come from adjudication process, some come from other donations as well, but I don't know all the financial strings to that. And I'd be remiss to try to speak to that intelligently, but I will get you an answer.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, chief. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Stick around.
You can sit down, chief. Oh, yeah, I guess so.
All right, next up on the agenda is the prohibiting of vape in indoor public places. Sorry, Chief, because you don't need to sit
I
down.
just wanted you to know that I follow orders. Especially from the mayor.
Oh, geez, whatever.
So Mayor, I think the confusion was, I think I was going to take the lead on the presentation and then Chief
Oh,
was going to
perfect.
back me up.
Cool. You want to come on up?
I was trying to give you a pass.
I know you were. I appreciate it. Thanks, sir.
So Mayor, Council, we're here before you today with a couple of recommendations for changes to our municipal ordinances involving vaping in indoor public places and the restriction and sale of hemp and THC products to persons under 21. I think the first half of that, the vaping in indoor spaces, is really more of a cleanup in the ordinance. I think if you polled people in the community, I think most would probably think it's already not permitted. But when you look at the ordinance definitions of smoking devices, it really doesn't cover it. So we would propose is to bring forth some changes, proposed changes to the ordinance to make it explicitly clear and not ambiguous to the public that vaping is considered smoking for purposes of the ban on indoor public spaces. So again, I think pretty minor cleanup, not a major substantive change. With regard to the hemp-derived and THC-containing products, so currently state statute and city ordinance prohibits the purchase of nicotine products unless to those 21 and older. Currently, our city ordinance allows THC and hemp products to be purchased by those 18 and older. And so there was some expressed interest in aligning those two ages to be 21. And this is where I think maybe the chief could speak to that if you had questions. But given the same accessibility, the same type of marketing to that age demographic, and really some of the same public health concerns, staff would recommend that we raise that age to 21 to be consistent with nicotine. And so those essentially are the two proposed modifications, and I'm certainly happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Eric or the chief relating to moving this order? Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Mayor, so thank you. Eric, I thought state statutes on hemp CBD was still at, state statute was still 18. Did that get
Mayor,
changed?
Council, it has not. It still remains at 18. That's embodied in section 14.3.310. And so there is an anomaly with regard to the state statutes when you talk about THC hemp versus nicotine. State statutes 21, 18 for hemp and THC. Certainly, we can't be less restrictive than state statute, but as a municipality with some home rule authority, we can be more restrictive. And I think the chief would say that based on what they see in the younger demographics and some of the misuse of these products, that we believe that it would be in the best interest of the city to align those at 21. Okay.
Mayor,
Yep.
follow up. So we tried to get that age up, and I think that would have helped statewide vape products that are now available, CBD and all of that. But for some reason, the legislature wouldn't change that. And also on the vape devices, we attempted to try to limit the nicotine content in some of those vape pens at that time, but again, that went nowhere. But I'm totally on board with trying to limit that to 21-year-olds. I thought all along that's where it should be.
Other questions, comments? Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Eric, or Chief, do you know, does this ordinance, I mean, and do our school response officers get involved, for example, if like for vaping fences at the public schools, at like say the high schools or middle schools?
Mayor, council, thanks for that question. Yes, there's quite a few citations that are issued as a result of vaping in possession of those instruments.
And my follow-up to that is there to go kind of along with that, is there either some kind of education available for young folks who get excited with vape products?
Mayor, council, yes, we have diversion court and sometimes student court that ran through that depending on what level of offense it is. So we have our diversion officers, they'll meet with the district attorney's office because we operate on that single point of entry with some of these depending on their age. And so they'll try to mitigate some of that and education through that process.
So
And Mayor and Council, I would just add, I know that the Public Health Department gets some funds around tobacco cessation counseling, and I believe Mercer House is traditionally contracted with them to provide
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was thinking. Okay, just wondering if that was still in place. So, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. To that point, Councilor Bond, I don't think you were on council at the time with us, but that was part of the rationale for when increased the smoking age to 21 and we were not in compliance with the state statute. Until we amended our ordinance to align with state statute, anybody between the ages of 18 to 21 that was being cited under state statute due to the lack of existing ordinance by the city, they automatically went to circuit court, is my understanding. And so the consequences being levied in circuit court are heavier. And my understanding, again, is that we had less tools at our disposal, like diversion and tobacco cessation programs and stuff to try to get kids, the education and community service and other things to try to get them on the right path and not just immediately go to a punitive kind of incarceration. But
Yeah. Great.
And then my only other comment is I've made a habit multiple times over the year of expressing, what I would consider probably pro-cannabis ideology. And I personally am someone that supports full rec legalization, but I don't think you should do it under 21. So I know we'll get some flack for it, but I don't care. There's no research out there there's not a single study you can show me that says it's fine and hunky-dory for people under the age of 21 to be using cannabis or any other drug. Happy to have that fight with folks that want to.
Anybody else?
So,
Yeah.
Mayor, Kyle, I didn't quite. So are you in favor of 21
Yes.
or leave it at 18?
Yes, children should not use mind-altering substances, ideally till you're 25, but I'm happy with 21.
All right. So everybody okay giving a thumbs up to recommend the code change? Move forward with the public hearing, first read? Awesome.
Thank you.
That's good.
Council.
Thank you. All right, on to the next graffiti abatement. You can set us up, madam.
Yes, please. Thank you, Mayor. So Council, you had asked that we move this up in time and get this topic in front of you so that you could understand what is currently being done by city staff and city programs with respect to graffiti. We will have Director Lopez and Chief Cheney present to you tonight discussing what the police department and the Parks and Recreation department is doing to assist the community both on public property and with respect to graffiti that occurs on private property. And I think Suleima's going to start. Yep.
Chief, you just stayed up here the whole time.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. So we are here tonight to just give you an idea of what we're currently doing. I know at one point there was a question about how robust our graffiti abatement programming is at this time. And so hopefully this will give you some insight into what exactly it is that we are doing in terms of graffiti abatement at this time. And then a sort of idea of what the problem in the community really is. And so at this point in time, City of Casper Parks Division handles all graffiti abatement on public property. So if you think about graffiti on parks, playground structures, things like that, on trails and other pathways along the city of Casper is informed about in a number of different ways. So you can report graffiti on public property through 311, the app on your phone, or through our city website. You can also call into the Parks Division, and honestly, most of our reports come via phone call. And then once we learn of graffiti on public property, we will dispatch staff to get their eyes on it. And then at that point, we'll determine if it's something that we can handle on our own or if it's something that we feel is better contracted out. Generally speaking, if it's graffiti on like a playground structure, a slide, things like that, we do have chemicals and tools available to us to be able to remove that quickly on our own. However, we're not well equipped to be able to remove graffiti from things like fences and concrete structures such as a skate park, which is one of our high areas of graffiti. And so we do contract that work out generally. I will say the one exception to our response on public property would be on our residential and commercial trash containers. Generally, Parks does not take care of that. Those calls go into solid waste or are reported by the drivers picking up those containers, and they will be swapped out by solid waste staff. The containers that are marked go to the solid waste facility and then are either painted or handled in that way through solid waste. So just wanted to make sure that you understood that team takes care of those graffiti issues. In terms of graffiti on private property, that's where Chief Cheney's team gets involved. Those reports go directly to the police department, and he and his team navigate that response. And I'll let him speak to that.
So if someone calls in a graffiti and it's on private property, generally we'll take a report, but it's difficult to track because sometimes they're called in as vandalism, private property damage, all kinds of weird nuances in there and how it's reported. But typically what we'll do is we'll take that report, we take some photographs, and then we'll educate and try to encourage that property owner to get it cleaned up as soon as possible based off that. If it looks like it's unkempt, then it's going to continue to draw those kind of problems.
Anything else?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Council, so in terms of historic abatement programs that the city has had, I did a little bit of research and found that in or around 2011, not entirely sure exactly how long the program lasted, but Casper did obtain a grant funding through Keep Casper Beautiful to combat graffiti in the community. And so at that time, Keep Casper Beautiful, code enforcement, and the Casper Police Department joined forces to develop a more robust program that included a graffiti hurts brochure, which was an informational trifold that was included in your packet. In addition to that, CPD offered a program to encourage the removal of graffiti through working with local paint stores to match paint to cover up graffiti if that's how a resident chose to handle it, or they could sign a release to have city employees go and cover the graffiti. The thing with that method, though, is that a lot of times the paint would not be matched. We would just use a cream colored paint or some other colored paint to cover the graffiti. And so it was pretty evident where that was happening. And so those were part of that more robust program. And that program ended when the grant funding was no longer available to us. We believe it lasted for a couple of years, but I don't have exact dates on that. And so that's a historic program that existed that I think people probably remember. And it was definitely a more robust program than we have in place now. But as you can see through the information that was provided in the memo, thankfully, at least on the park side of things, we are on a downward trend in terms of how much we're spending on graffiti removal a year through contracted efforts. Now, we don't, while we have work orders and could mine the data to determine how much time we're spending on playgrounds, I think it's pretty minimal. And so we're really tracking the hard cost of contracting that work to be done at various areas. Again, the skate park is probably our most frequent call for graffiti removal in the community, and we attribute that to the fact that it's pretty far from a major road and it's sort of tucked in behind a lot of things and hard to see unless you're at the skate park or at the Boys and Girls Club. And honestly, the Boys and Girls Club is the one that calls it in mostly to us. And so a few things that we can attribute to that downward trajectory, which is a good positive thing, is that removal of graffiti at parks by staff. So of course that's sort of reducing. If we can get to it quickly, then it doesn't tend to perpetuate quite as quickly. The other thing to note is that in the spring of 2023, that's when 311 was added as an option to report graffiti in various ways. So I think there was a highlighted effort to let the community know that that is available to them, and we talked about it several times in council and through info packets and other methods. And so we do think that that has helped part of that downward trend in graffiti, at least on public property. That, stand for any questions you might have.
Any questions for Zulima or the chief? Yeah.
So did I hear you correctly and read this, that there's no longer the paint graffiti kit that you can go match it? Is that correct? That you can go match it? Because I mean, I actually took advantage of that one time, unfortunately. So what would it take to partner? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that much cost or any cost to the city to partner with a paint store just to be able to hand out a coupon. They can go work out a deal or something.
Mayor, councilors, the way the program worked before, as I understand it, is that the city would actually pay for that can of matched paint. It was a voucher that they received through the police department.
Oh, okay.
I was not able to find any cost associated with that program or even how much the grant was at the time. So I'm not sure what the program cost.
I'm just wondering if it would be beneficial if we just not to have the city pay for any part of it, but just talk to those paint distributors and see if their likelihood of doing a coupon as a way of partnering with the city, you know, like offering a special discount, 50% off or 40, you know, off of a can of paint. Just to make it easier and entice people to go fix it, get rid of it faster.
Excuse me, Mayor, through you, Councilor. Certainly we could look into that, and we are in the process right now of looking at the budget recommendation that will come to you later this spring. I can tell you, I have some experience with programs of this nature, and typically your private partners are eager to partner with you. I would estimate, like totally spitballing right now, probably at least $20,000 a year, but it's something we can look into and we can talk about more and bringing back some more information. These kinds of programs with like the graffiti abatement coupons can really help business owners to be able to remove the graffiti quickly and prevent more graffiti from popping up next to it. The thing I would recommend against is, in my professional opinion, I don't always think it's in the city's best interests to pursue the programs where city staff go and make the removal on the private property. And there's a lot of reasons for that I won't unpack unless you ask me to. And if the chief might recall what we spent on the program, certainly I'd invite that data.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilor. I don't recall because it was grant funded. And I had to go through my old Rolodex and call folks like Chief Walsh, Pete Abrams, all the folks that are no longer here and ask. And really they said that I had a better recollection. So I know it was grant funded. The voucher typically covered about $15, if I understand it, but you got beige, gray, and white. And if you didn't want that, they would take the $15 off a match paint for you. And so if it was like $30, you got $15 off. But we used that funding until it exhausted itself. Some folks used it, some folks didn't use it. They didn't like the match paint, or it made it more of an eyesore. It kind of made it pop with beige paint. It should be white. Sorry, I can't give you a figure.
No, I don't need a number, but.
Any question? Other questions? Yeah, Kyle.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, guys, for the information. I would agree with the city manager. We're trying to do so many different things at the city. I could see it getting unwieldy with having city staff to go out and remediate this. But I did appreciate in the memo the information put together by Keep Casper Beautiful in regards to, the evidence points to the fact that the quicker you're able to remediate it, the more successful you're going to be community-wide to prevent it in the future. 24 to 48 hours is the kind of window of time that they recommend trying to get it remediated to really maximize that impact. I verified that in the independent research I was doing over the weekend. Whoever put together the flyer, I think, was, doing a good job, and I didn't find anything that was inaccurate. So whatever we work towards in the future, I think expediency should be the name of the game, because all the evidence points to the fact that that 24 to 48 hour window is kind of the time to get it done. It kind of aligns with this broken windows philosophy I've illustrated a couple times, just the impact on crime rates and the fact that graffiti, even if it's occurring on private property, if there's adjacent public property, we could see that activity move over into city-owned property. So, I would love to see the city do whatever it can in partnership with other agencies to create a program where we're taking care of it expediently. But I totally get where the city manager is coming from in regards to the city just taking care of the whole thing.
Would it be beneficial just to take some of this information, because I'm not thinking, do we have anything like that on our city website about graffiti? Just with these, I'm just thinking the helpful tips of how should it be removed, and nothing that obligates the city to do anything about it other than it's on their own to report it and stuff, but just the helpful tips of graffiti removal and what to use or try for different things. Just to try to encourage, again, along the lines of keep Casper beautiful, but just give them helpful housekeeping tips on how to get rid of it if they are a victim of graffiti. Would that be beneficial?
I just looked, and code enforcement does have a little tiny blurb. It certainly could be more, it could be expanded to be more helpful, and I don't think that PD does. Okay.
Mayor, Councilor, outside of educating when we go to those private property pieces, we don't have a forward-facing document that says this is what you should do.
Is that something we could do on social media?
Yeah, that's what I
I
just
know it's
wondered.
just one, not rotating, but or constant, but might be something we could put out there on social media with the team. Just like about graffiti as well.
Just the helpful tips, graffiti removal tips would be probably easier to find if it was somewhere, if under a tab specifically or something for those people who need those tips.
Other questions? Yeah, Michael.
Well, first of all, I just want to say nice job on the brochure. Whoever did that, I think that's very helpful. So Chief, if an officer takes a report about somebody's private property or was tagged or whatever, are they given one of these brochures or how do they, so that they have information about how to remove it for private property?
Mayor, Councilor, no,
Yeah.
they're not given these brochures.
Okay.
So this was kind of found in an old file, and
Oh, I see. Okay.
Doesn't exist anymore
Oh,
because the grant funding's out.
I see. Well, yeah. So my other question is about the flow chart. There's some acronyms on there. I'm just curious because I'm sure if they're explained somewhere else maybe, but the PSCC creates a CR, citizen report.
so PSCC is our Public Safety Communication Center, or
Okay,
dispatch.
Okay,
They would create the CR, which is a
Okay.
case report,
okay. And the OR is a
offense report,
offense report, and the RP is a
boarding party.
party. Okay, that's okay. I'm gonna kind of guess that. All right, and the KCB coordinator,
Keep Casper beautiful.
Keep Casper. Thank you. I
It no
knew-
longer exists.
Okay. So my last thing is about, and I don't know, I'm sure we've had this, but so when I lived in Albuquerque, graffiti was just an issue citywide there, and absolutely removing, whether it's on public or private property, removing it is absolutely critical. But what I was wondering about is, say, a private property owner who, perhaps is elderly or low income or both, that was kind of that idea of the voucher to kind of help offset some of the expense. I'm just wondering if there are other, like an elderly person who, they're not gonna be able to get out there and either clean it or paint it, or I don't know. Are there other alternatives that we could offer, or? I'm just trying to think of.
Call a church for a volunteer or a Boy
Yeah.
Scout.
Justserve.org.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That was kind of who I was thinking of, would be kind of caught in the middle there, but.
Mayor, Counselor, I would add that there are several service organizations
Sure.
in the community. I'm a member of the Casper Rotary Club, and so we're constantly looking for projects like that where we can get out and help people in need. And so certainly I think we could look to partner with service organizations in the community to provide a resource for those who may need that.
Thank you.
Counselor, I would add to that too. Sometimes when the officers get these complaints, depending on an individual's financial capacity, they will work internally to figure out a way to help offset costs.
Oh,
Maybe work internally to find somebody to leverage to help get that taken care of. So that is happening.
sure.
Maybe it's just not championed
Yeah,
in a right way to provide that all to you.
I'm sure a lot of people have good neighbors that. Okay, thank you.
Any others? Awesome. Thank you guys for the update. Appreciate it. Chief, are you talking about solid waste too?
Sure.
Just making sure.
Why not?
You ready for that?
Yeah,
Mayor?
please, Janine, if you have anything you want to set us up with.
Council, we, as you know, had provided a couple memos in the fall and also I think a memo in late January, reporting on the progress of converting to the use of to a different way of people accessing your landfill facility or your bale field. We expected Cindy to present to you tonight with the latest stats after I think now almost fully 6 months of this process, but she's ill. So we will have Hallie Lockhart, who's our interim transfer station supervisor, and Ethan Yonker, our interim director for public services, pinch hitting for Cindy tonight. But I know they're going to do a great job.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I will try to take the first bite at this apple. If you do have questions operationally, Hallie is a little more equipped than I am to answer those questions, which is why I asked her to be here tonight. So in January, specifically from January 2nd to January 26th, there was only one customer that was denied use of the solid waste pass, due to being a commercial or a person that was performing a disposal for a fee. So they were charging a fee to do that work. There was changes to the written procedure for how we are handling bale fill passes. The two main changes that were made were a family member, relative, neighbor, friend hauling on behalf of the city or the homeowner is unable to haul the waste loads themselves, is allowed to use these passes. The driver may not be a business or a person who charges a fee for service. In that span of time in January that I had mentioned before, there were 3 folks that we had to verify, and 1 was denied. 2 of those were allowed to continue, even though the pass didn't match their information. And I apologize, I'm really just regurgitating information that you already have in a memo, but I felt it was worth clarifying just to lead into questions. Commercial or entities performing disposals for a fee, if we did allow those folks to utilize landfill passes of residential customers, we do anticipate that it would increase or would be an expense of about $70,000 a year to do that. That's about 30 cents per customer per month if we were to incorporate that expense into the solid waste fees. Staff does not believe that allowing commercial or disposal for charge is the intent of the original ordinance. The ordinance intent was to allow homeowners to generate more waste during home improvement projects, spring cleanup, or family and friend get-togethers, etc., to self-haul their trash to Casper solid waste facility without a fee. I believe part of the goal with that is to reduce unlawful dumping outside of the land. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask me or Ally, happy to address those.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Ethan, for the information. Question for you, and then potentially one for, is it Hallie? Determining whether somebody is hauling for a fee or conducting some sort of commercial business, how do you guys, short of just taking someone for their word, how do you verify that when they're at the window?
Mayor, council. Ally, I'm sorry. Ally Lockhart is our interim transfer station supervisor, so she deals with this on a daily basis.
Mayor, council. We've done a better job of it when they come through the transfer station to dump something. The girls have like a spiel they have to ask. And our staff is pretty aware of probably say 90% of the people who come through. So to determine that, usually if they'll ask them, are you hauling for somebody else? And they'll say, well, yeah, I'm a business, I'm Joe, and I'm hauling. Well, unfortunately, you're not allowed to use their passes anymore, so you need to pay the $20. We really lately have not had any issues with this. I think one of the things that we've been trying to work on is the people cleaning up for the elderly. The neighbor kid bringing it in. I had two in this last probably week or two that has happened. And I ask them how much they're hauling and what it's for. Well, it's my mother-in-law. She's 90. They're getting ready to move her into a home. He lives on the mountain. They don't get the passes. How much do you think you're gonna haul? I have maybe 2 loads. Okay, I'm gonna authorize these 2 loads. I need your name, number, your address where you live, because I verify it before I turn it over to the staff to make sure that he does live on the mountain or he's not showing up on our app. And I tell them he's gonna come in. Do you know what day you're gonna come in? Yeah, he's come in. Well, he came in Saturday with both loads. And I told the girls, you need to document that for me. So then I could give it to Cindy, and then we have. And then we had just another one. Son-in-law just lost his mother-in-law. They were just cleaning up stuff. That's the kind of the stuff that we've been running into, but anything major with I think the contractors and our so-called, what they're calling handymen, have really gotten the grip of it. And I mean, they're still upset, and you still have but we really haven't had. And then just I got the stats from Cheryl from July to January. With weather, we don't have any snow, so it's busy. So it's only been 11%. So, but I think once it starts going on, I think things are gonna get better. I think we're gonna see people paying more $20 and then trying to utilize the passes.
Thanks, Ellie. Appreciate it. Could I give you one more? I have a friend who said she recently tried dumping a load in an unmarried relationship at the same address with another man. The utilities are in his name. Are those circumstances that she would be able to get, if they live together?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we've run into that a couple of times. A lot of married couples don't have the same last name. But if the address matches, absolutely. But that's probably our minimal amount that we're worried about. It was always our handyman contractor type thing.
The address of the driver's licenses? Or?
Yes, and a lot of them do match. And even the realtors, same place, same thing. I've talked to Remax, they've all called and have asked. And I said, your tenants have to have, they pay for water and sewer somehow, whether it's through the rent or somewhere. So I gave them an example of me. I live in a rental. I had to change my address to where I live so I could use a bill fill pass that, and they were like, oh, well, okay. Well, am I supposed to change them all? I can't answer that for you,
I'll say something positive.
Oh.
I had a great experience because I've been using mine during this nice warm
Oh,
weather.
good, yeah.
And so, and it was very fast. I mean, it was great. The line went quick. They just verified it, put it on in the computer, and off we went. And so that, and then also, I can speak from a contractor or handyman side, is a lady, my neighbor just sold her home, and she's older, and she's having a handyman come clean out like her whole backyard of all gardening old stuff, knick-knacky things. And he was filling up this trailer, and I said, oh, are you gonna use Nancy's, are you gonna use her thing? And he's like, no, I can't, because I'm a handyman. So the word is getting out, and they know. So.
Well, and like I've explained to a couple of them, I'm like, you're getting paid for this service, correct? Well, yeah, okay, well, then you need to pay that $20 that they're paying you, because they're probably paying you a little more, but we're only charging you $20. So yes, I think it's going very well.
Yeah, he for sure knew, and he's like, plus they all know me.
Can't get away with it.
Yes.
Anybody else?
So, Mayor, if I could,
There, Counselor, I have Janine real quick and then I'll get you. You're good.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify something. So let's say I hire a handyman. I could just ride with him to the landfill with my ID, right?
Yep.
Okay. I just
We've
wanted-
offered that. Mhm.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because I had heard an example of that nature. I just want to make sure that that was the case.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Following up off of what she just said, though, but there's a restriction on trailer size, correct? Sure.
Well, when you say that, so when a residential person comes in and say they have a trailer, up to 10 feet, they can use one pass.
Okay,
Anything over that, then it goes, but we only go up to 14 feet.
okay.
So then they just need to be aware that they're gonna have to use 3.
Gotcha. 3 passes.
And the contractors, no matter what, they get weighed in and out.
no, I never mind. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. I just, I appreciate staff trying to accommodate, especially seniors, but, if they're paying somebody, they're disabled, they're paying somebody to move their recliner, and take it to the dump instead of dumping it in the alley. I think we'd rather accommodate those people and not have them pay $20, but, I wish there was a better system, that, so they don't have to call ahead, they don't have to, depend on the contractor getting up there, the handyman next door neighbor, or should they just go ahead and lie and say, no, he's not paying me anything, and then this is who I'm bringing the recliner up here for, but.
Yeah.
Mayor, council. So we have had that. We have. And I authorize those people to bring those. Those people will call and they will ask. I have Joe Smith that's bringing, I'm 80, I cannot clean this stuff up myself. I cannot haul that. Would that be okay? Absolutely. We will accommodate that. We just haven't had a whole lot of it yet. Maybe come, summer, it might change a little bit. But yes, we will. That's absolutely something I have talked to Cindy about, that we do have to accommodate those folk a little bit more than what.
So bottom line, if you need special requests, call landfill, and you'll
And they
make
either
accommodations.
they ask for me or they ask for Cindy. If it's somebody that wants to talk to Cindy, then absolutely. But I will take a large percentage of the calls.
But the answer, Mayor, is yes, you better call before, because you get up to the gate and you have, what's been told to me by probably 3 people, they get to the gate and then the hassle begins because they're not the person. So. Now, I don't know how we get the word out, call ahead. Sorry, I don't, so.
I will say that I think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think since it's so new, it's gonna take some time for us to get that word out. That there are, instances where there's accommodations you can call. I think just having that communication, but I think we need to give it time. I think we need to also know that there's gonna be some growing pains. But it sounds like the city staff is doing a really, really good job of trying to navigate this transition. So, yeah.
Whale City's on top of it. Bold call in advance.
Any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate you both.
I just want to say something.
Yes,
real quick
please,
if I could. I want you guys to understand that when they do come to the landfill, they can ask for a supervisor. If they don't, and the girls are really good about it. They're like, just give me a minute, let me get somebody over here. And then I'll have a chat with them and I mean, we're not as strict as it sounds on paper, but we do have to come up with some kind of fine line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll tell Cindy you guys did great.
Oh, she's probably watching.
She probably is watching.
From her sick bed.
Mayor,
You bet.
I've got to leave.
Okay.
To head out to Frontier Park. But Jenna, can you be my alternate at next Tuesday? I need to be at Regional Water and they've moved the tourism visit Casper meeting up.
You betcha, Pat. I got you
Okay.
covered.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. We are into interim topics. I think Fleur's on for this one, right?
She is. Council, you are aware undoubtedly that the Legislature and Association of Municipalities asked for suggestions of topics that might be studied by legislative committees in the interim between legislative sessions. So our Chief of Staff is going to walk you through the items identified by the executive team that we may wish to submit to WHAM this week.
Your Honor, members of council, so I'm handing out a chart. Does everyone have one? There's some extras here. Good, okay.
It's for the large.
Sorry. So I did email it earlier, so you should be able to pull it up on your email and blow it up, zoom in. But I'll go over them quickly right now. So we have 5 topics that we would like to take forward, and by we I mean Kyle, the board meeting tomorrow. So first is gaming. So currently, gaming locations inside city limits are permitted by the county, even though the city provides all the services and bears the impacts. So the city is required to split the revenue, and we would like to see that come to the city, as well as the ability to do the permitting ourselves. So that's the first one. Second one is Wyoming Stablecoin, or Frontier Stablecoin. So this was launched in 2026 in January by the governor. But cities currently cannot invest in or accept it for government services, so we would like that ability. We'd like to expand the investment statutes or SLIB policy to allow municipal investment and acceptance for payments. Ski patrol. Currently, the city has to pay for ski patrol to be covered under our insurance, and we're not allowed to use workers' comp for this, so we would like that coverage to be extended to ski patrol volunteers. They do act as emergency responders. Number 4 is business improvement area so tourism improvement districts. So under our current legislation, Wyoming lacks the ability for municipalities to create tourism improvement districts. So we'd like to be able to have those. And finally, municipal debt capacity. Currently, the limits that they have are not enough for cities to be able to use, and we would like them to raise that, or the goal is to exempt sewer projects or revise how municipal debt limits are calculated, which would restore some flexibility for cities. Questions, concerns, additions?
So I meant to send this to you, Fleur, but I didn't yet, but maybe Ray, you might remember, or Kyle. We had talked, I think maybe in the last session about, I think that we talked about the possibility of some legislation about high impact in cities that impact dollars for cities who were dealing with large volumes of homeless and individuals who are homeless. Does that ring a bell? I mean, is that something, is that still alive or is that?
You might know, Colin.
So yeah, I do believe Liz Becker had reminded me of that during our last board meeting as a topic that the city would like to entertain for this current legislative session. But Wham's position at that time was that with it being a budget session and with kind of all the other
Sure.
things on the plate, this wasn't the year. And so I think we had agreed at that time to potentially bring it up now. So
Okay,
might be worthy of consideration.
I just remembered that had come up and I just didn't get for email.
Other questions for Fleur on these? Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Do you have any comments on that at all?
I do not. So what I'm hearing, I think, is that all of these topics are suitable to council. You don't have any disagreement with them. And so we will submit them on the form that WAMP sent around today for us to do that.
Could I, to follow up with Councilor Bond's suggestion, I think it's worthy of considering adding something along, the concept is something, I'm having jogged in my memory to remind me of it, but certainly I would love to see some more statewide assistance, whatever that form may look like, to help with places like Casper and Cheyenne that are shouldering the bulk of the burden of social services for folks that are needing it. So,
Amber.
In the same vein, remind me, Kyle, I feel like 2 years ago, perhaps, one of our priorities was around county to county busing and folks getting dropped here, kind of cold handoff style. And I don't think there's ever any legislative movement around that, but it was a priority not that long ago. So I'm wondering if it's still a priority, if we feel like that situation has resolved itself for the most part. But I don't think there was any legislative action, if I remember correctly.
I might punt this one to Eric. You might have a better memory of me than those conversations.
Mayor, council, so I know this was an item that Carter and I had discussed. And certainly folks coming to Casper for services is a problem. What we, I think, have found is it's not typically other governmental entities that are busing folks here, but it's private nonprofits, churches, so forth. And my concern is trying to legislate around that, raise some constitutional issues around freedom of movement. But I really think it's all part and parcel of the larger issue, and that is places like Casper and Cheyenne have the homeless shelters. We have the mental health services, and these things don't exist in our more rural communities. And so although a lot of that funding is allocated based on a county by county basis, we're really functioning as a regional hub. And so I've long advocated for rethinking that from a state level and providing more financial assistance to municipalities like the city of Casper to deal with it. Of course, the inverse of that would be is provide those services in the more rural parts, and then the folks won't feel compelled to come to Casper. So I think it's a broad topic worthy of discussion.
Thanks. Yeah, that I'm satisfied with that approach too, but just wanted to see if there had been any, I guess, change in our direction, or sounds like maybe some evolution there, which is great. Since we talked about it like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, do we have any interest in bringing forward cannabis policy? Do we want to test? do we want to see if this current council has interest in bringing forward anything around that, since it just came up?
Yeah, I mean, the last time it came up again, we didn't get the majority of this council to support in favor, but there was a resolution brought by Teton County along very similar lines, and it failed by 1 vote in front of the entire WAM body. So it was obviously very close. I mean, I personally, I feel like the state, if that's what small part we can do as the city to keep pressure on the state to fix what I think is bad legislation around this topic, I will always support that. So, I mean, I'd be happy to take a little straw poll vote and see if we want to add that to the list, but I would support it.
How was it? Do you recall if that was on the, like, it was on the question of decriminalization, correct?
So
Not
decriminalization came up last year,
Okay.
and it was not as balanced in its, Wham had brought a gentleman from Washington that was very involved with public policy creation up there and stuff, and oh man, it's only been 12 months, but it feels like 12 years since that conversation took place. But there was definitely a lot of angst around decriminalization as a concept. People were a lot less receptive to the idea of decriminalization as opposed to medicinal or outright legalization. And I'm having a hard time remembering what that was, but it had a lot to do around the presentation that guy had there. And, he was speaking more so to the decriminalization of things like psilocybin mushrooms and psychedelics up in Washington, which, they pulled that back. I think that's now illegal again. So it was a failed experiment on their part. And he was kind of speaking to that, but he was broadening it to kind of the use of cannabis as well. So I think, a lot of people had concerns after watching his presentation. And I actually thought it was a good presentation. I thought he was pretty evidence-based in his approach. So,
Go ahead, Amber.
I guess I'd be curious. To me, it seems a good place for the conversation to start would be in the interim versus just another bill coming forward to give it some more serious contemplation. Maybe. Not that the interim has been yielding particularly exciting results lately, but perhaps it's a good place for it to land if it's going to land somewhere.
sorry, I guess I
Do
didn't
you
know.
think it should go to interim? Or just should,
So yeah,
should we
so basically it sounds like,
Yeah.
We have a couple, you're open to wanting to put it on interim. Question is, does the council want to do that? Put it on an interim topic to bring it forward to the.
And my motion would be medicinal use of cannabis. That's what I would encourage us to take a position on, is creating framework for medicinal use for cannabis. That's what, when this came up the last time at the WAM conference, I think I've reported to y'all, I had a line of 12, 15 people after I kind of gave my little, people looked to me to kind of speak to that resolution. And it was all medicinal use. That's what everyone said. They had friends, family, relatives, or themselves that were using it for insomnia, for pain management, for wasting as a result of cancer treatment and other things. So, I mean, that to me, I think is kind of the most important place to start. So yeah, I guess I would make that motion to add it to our list to while they're in the interim to work on framework for medicinal use for cannabis.
Where's council sit? Randy?
Specifically, you just know I'm not gonna fight you.
You know what she said, if it's just medicinal, then.
Yeah,
I'm over here thinking about a fight, but not for medicinal.
Yeah, I'll go on record. I'm a no for recreational, but I would definitely be open to the benefits of medicinal purposes for it. So. Municipal purposes, that too.
So that falls
Don't
under
hold me
me.
on that.
That's a different bill.
We're gonna need some specifics on that.
Mayor says municipal uses of marijuana.
He's behind it.
But not indoors.
But not indoors. Did you have anything? Oh, Matt, do you have anything you want to weigh in? Majority voted for it, but I just wanted to see where you are.
Medicinal.
For medicinal purposes.
Yeah, I would probably, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably agree on the whole, as a definite no for the complete and total recreational use, but, I'll keep an open mind with the medicinal benefits. So.
Thanks.
I would agree.
For kind of my own clarification and also for the rest of the group, Janine, you probably have more expertise in this regard, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of how this works is we, actually Flora, you probably know too, we kind of have this list that we submit to WHAM for consideration. They deliberate it up until the summer convention, and then at that point, I believe it's their resolutions committee kind of sets in stone what the WHAM, there's voting that occurs at summer convention. All the municipalities, like happened a couple years ago, will vote. Do we support Casper's resolution for creating medicinal framework? And if the majority of that body votes in support, then WHAM takes an official position on it to encourage the legislature to work on it through the interim. That's my understanding of how it works.
Members of council, I think it's changed a little bit. So we have these sheets we fill out. It'll go to the board meeting. And then this time the actual region has to adopt it. So your region has to adopt it to push it forward to WHAM for all of WHAM to review.
Okay.
So so that's, I think that is a slight change from past, and we're not doing the resolutions anymore.
Yeah.
So just a little.
So it's getting vetted at the region level first.
Yes.
Before it comes to the whole body.
Yes.
Okay.
That is.
Good to know. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
May I
Yeah.
summarize?
Yeah.
Council, so I'll summarize. We have the items on the sheet that the chief of staff gave you. In addition, we will add consideration and investigation of the impact of unhoused populations and investigating the potential creation of programs to support communities who have significant unhoused residents within their communities. Kind of generally get that. And then we will support the creation or investigation and potential creation of a framework to permit medical cannabis. All right, we'll add those two. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, let's go to council around the table. Start with you, Mr. McIntosh. Sorry, you want me to start with Brandy?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. You looking?
I know.
Okay, awesome. Michael. Matt, I know you just stepped away. I don't know if you can hear me. If you have anything, go around the table. Okay, awesome.
Sorry, Michael's off. No, I do not.
Thank you. Amber. I don't have anything either.
I got a couple.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to not pay attention to you, Vice Mayor. Guess we're all done. Go ahead, Cal.
Thank you. Mayor and I were part of a very interesting and kind of unsettling roundtable last week discussing concerns from Natrona County Fire District. The majority of their budget, nearly all of it, is funded through property tax revenue. So just had a conversation with them about what their financial solvency looks like into the future should the legislature kind of mess with the formula in their session and or the 50% exemption passes at the ballot this November, because if Natrona County Fire District is not an organization that handles those services, then we in the municipalities have to kind of shoulder that burden. So it would definitely have an impact on us if Natrona County Fire District was not around any longer. So obviously that's up in flux and subject to lots of different things being deliberated out there. So keeping a close eye on it. Amanda Flanagan from Ford Wyoming Center presented to my Rotary Club yesterday. She did a really good job, shared some cool history about the building, had some neat photos I'd never seen. And I think the folks in the room learned a lot. She spoke to some of the things that at least I personally get a lot of questions about, like the nuance of booking gigs in our particular region, why we can't get certain acts. For reference, she used Metallica as a good example several decades ago. Lots of folks in the community went to Metallica, and that's because at that time our rigging equipment at the event center could handle that concert production. Now we're about 100,000 pounds shy of being able to host Metallica. Their production's gotten a lot bigger. There's a lot more to it. The Ford Wyoming Center does not have the ability to host an act like that. She said Hosier, actually, we would not be able to get again because between the time we originally booked him and when we eventually got him rescheduled, his production has grown so much that we can't book him again. So if you didn't make it, sorry, you're gonna have to go to Denver next time. yeah, apparently he had to cut 60,000 pounds from his production just to fit in during this most recent show. A highlight I took out of it was, this was news to me. The Ford Wyoming Center was built during the second round of 1 cent funding. It was built with 1 cent funds, $22 million during the second round. As a frame of reference, the most recent design, plans that we have looked at as a council was $130 million. So far leap from the 22 million to originally constructed. That would take, we projected 64.5 million for the last 1 cent cycle. It sounds like we'll be a bit above that, but that's essentially 2 full cycles of 1 cent exclusively dedicated to the Ford Wyoming Center. So it just kind of speaks to the cost of construction these days compared to 45 years ago, and what acts are looking for from a venue. It was a lot more basic. Things were simpler. Simpler times 45 years ago. So kind of what we're up against. And then lastly, I read an interesting article in Cowboy State Daily today about Sleeping Giant Ski Resort. In it, they mentioned the fact that after shutting down in 2004, it was reopened by local investors under the management of a nonprofit in 2007. They kept it solvent for about a decade before a private investor purchased it from that nonprofit in 2019. He was successful for a couple years, but that lodge has not been open for 3 winters now in a row just because of the difficulty of running a ski lodge. A Texas-based investment group is now in talks to purchase it, but even they are not talking about bringing back skiing, at least in the near future. I guess they have plans to create some sort of summer adventure campus, trying to pull the area for Yellowstone during the summer months. But just as we talk about Hogadon and have a really in-depth community conversation about what it looks like for that place to be successful. I think this is an interesting case study about those people that, think it's realistic for Hogadon to end up in private hands and make a profit. This is just one more case study, in my opinion, showing that that's not a possibility. The question is, how much are we comfortable affording for this facility to exist in our community? The question is, should it exist or not, and what value, how much are we willing to contribute to make it exist? That's the conversation, not whether it should be in private hands or not. It's nigh impossible, it sounds, to make this work privately for profit. So certainly if you're not in a state or national park. So just thought that was an interesting article. Again, I think that was this morning, if you're interested in reading it. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Oh
yeah, go ahead.
Al, do you know if Sleeping Giant did they have